A debt slave like you doesn't belong here.
Not now. Not here. Just get through the day.
The laughter of her clique sealed the cafeteria's judgment. Every pair of eyes turned toward the scholarship student in the worn uniform. But Yuto's mind wasn't in the cafeteria. It was in a hospital room. 3 years ago.
She died with a debt that wasn't hers to carry, and the Kazama Bank made sure it would crush me.
You should know your place. My family owns yours.
And it was true. The Kazama financial empire stood like a monolith over the city and over Yuto's life.
But even a monolith can crack. I just need to find the fault line.
Behind his tired eyes, a razor-sharp mind for numbers had been forged by years of desperate survival.
The National Investment Challenge. If I win, maybe I can buy back my life.
After school, Yuto worked a double shift at the restaurant kitchen, his hands moving on autopilot while his mind crunched numbers.
Yuto, I heard about the National Investment Challenge. You'd blow everyone out of the water.
Maybe, but I don't even have a laptop.
That night, a debt collector called. The voice was automated, but the message was clear. The interest rate was about to increase.
They're going to swallow everything, unless I win this.
He borrowed a laptop from the library's reserve desk and registered under a pseudonym.
Unconventional risk models. That's what they'll overlook. And that's my edge.
His fingers flew across the keyboard. Columns of data, algorithms, probability matrices, the language of a hidden prodigy.
If this works, I won't just escape the debt. I'll burn it to ashes.
He submitted the portfolio just before midnight. Then he sat in the dark, waiting for the numbers to move. The next morning, the National Investment Challenge went live. Screens across the auditorium lit up with the pseudonyms of hundreds of entrants.
They're all betting on stability. I am betting on the hidden fractures.
Miles away, Miyabi Kazama attended another lavish party, oblivious to the storm gathering in the markets.
There, the yield curve is twitching exactly as I predicted. No one else will see it until it's too late.
A subtle dip, a volatile spread. The market whispered warnings only his models could hear.
If I am right, I'll have everything. If I am wrong, I'll have nothing. All in.
He poured every last borrowed yen into the position. A single misplaced decimal could disqualify him. But fear was a luxury he couldn't afford.
Now, the crash has to come. All the math points to it. But the world is blind.
Days passed. The market held its breath. Somewhere in a dark library, a boy in a worn uniform stared at a screen, shaping the future with numbers. And then, a tremor. A headline from overseas. The first domino tipped. The tremor became an earthquake. Markets plunged. First Asia, then Europe, finally Wall Street. Red arrows flooded every screen.
The algorithm triggered. My portfolio just hit 5,000% returns. It's actually happening.
Days later, the challenge results were announced. The winning pseudonym, Solvent, shocked the financial world. No one knew the face behind it.
I am rich, on paper, but the debt is still there, bleeding interest. Unless the bank itself bleeds first.
And then, a different headline. Kazama Financial, embezzlement and mismanagement exposed. The empire's foundation cracked. The Kazama Bank, the very institution that owned Yuto's debt, was now under investigation. Its shares plummeted.
The bank that tormented me is dying. My debt might die with it, but I could lose everything in the collapse. Unless I don't just watch. Unless I buy the ashes, the shares, the debt, the whole empire, at rock-bottom prices.
The Grand Kazama lobby, once a temple of power, stood deserted. Dust motes drifted in the silence.
I'll be the ghost that buys its corpse. Miyabi will never see it coming.
In his high-rise office, Takeda watched the Kazama shares bleed. He needed the anonymous winner, Solvent, to solidify his takeover.
Find Solvent, the genius who predicted the crash. Offer him a reward he can't refuse.
A coded message through the challenge portal. They've traced my account. Takeda's hunters found me.
The message was brief. A lucrative partnership, and a hint of mutual enemies.
They want to use me against the Kazamas, but they don't know my real name. I can use that.
He typed his reply. I'll meet your representative. Alone. No names, no faces.
Excellent. Even a ghost needs allies. Now we set the trap for the Kazama board.
One wrong move, and they'll own me. But this is the only way to get inside their plans.
3 days later, an unsigned envelope arrived with a location. The meeting was set. Yuto had nothing left to lose, and everything to gain. The game was just beginning. In a dim parking garage, Yuto signed a non-disclosure agreement with Takeda's intermediary. No names, only the cold exchange of numbers. The plan was laid bare: a hostile takeover, asset stripping, and deliberate bankruptcy. Takeda needed solvents analysis to legitimize the buyout.
They want me to be their weapon against the Kazamas. I'll let them believe I'm compliant for now.
After the meeting, a crumpled note was pressed into his palm by an unseen hand. Your mother's loan has an illegal clause. Void it. Yuto spent the night tearing through old files and archives, searching for the original contract that had ruined his family. Buried in the fine print, one clause stood out. The annual interest rate exceeded the legal limit by 1,000%.
The debt was illegal from the start. The Kazama Bank broke the law to bleed my mother dry.
Yuto, you look like you've seen a ghost. You haven't slept in days, have you?
I found something, Ryo. Something that could burn the entire Kazama Empire to the ground. Now, I have the weapon. Time to turn their own injustice against them. No mercy. The debt could be voided entirely. But then, I'd walk away with nothing, just free from their grip. That's not enough.
2 paths branched in his mind. Expose the clause and watch the bank burn, or hide it and use it as blackmail to seize power.
If I go public now, regulators swarm, the bank fails, and my debt vanishes into the chaos. But I'd lose everything.
He opened his laptop and scanned the market. Kazama shares were in freefall, worthless to most, priceless to someone with a secret.
I could buy controlling shares at rock bottom if I had the capital. The challenge winnings aren't enough. I need leverage.
He stared at the illegal clause again, a time bomb. If he detonated it later, from a position of strength, the damage would be catastrophic.
I'll hide the clause until I hold the board hostage. Then I'll dictate terms. But first, I need more money.
He began plotting shell companies and borrowing from dangerous sources, each risk a step toward his goal.
Timing is everything. If I move too soon, Takeda cuts me out. Too late, and the Kazamas find another buyer.
The board vote was weeks away. Yuto had a weapon in one hand and a ticking clock in the other. Yuto formed shell companies, ghosts with no history, and began buying distressed Kazama bonds and shares in small, untraceable lots.
Every purchase pushes my stake higher, but I need a controlling interest, not just a minority.
Takeda's analysts flagged the unusual buying volume. Someone was amassing a position, and it wasn't their own conglomerate.
Someone else is scavenging. Speed up the takeover. Set a board vote date immediately.
The board vote was officially set for 2 weeks from today. Time was slipping away.
2 weeks. I need more capital. The illegal clause could force them to sell me shares.
He leveraged the illegality of his own debt to secure a high-risk loan from underground lenders, a deal sealed in shadows. His stake swelled to 17% of Kazama Financial, but control required 25.
I need 8 more %. The only path left is to blackmail the board directly with the illegal clause.
The clock ticked. In 2 weeks, either the Kazamas, Takeda, or Yuto would own the empire. Miyabi Kazama stormed into her father's private study, the newspaper shaking in her clenched fist. The scandal was out, and she demanded the truth.
Embezzlement, mismanagement. Explain to me how my family became a laughingstock overnight.
Miyabi, you don't understand the pressure. We were losing market share. I had to massage the books to protect our legacy.
He's been lying for years. The money, the prestige, all built on fraud. And he thinks it's justified.
Tomorrow I'll announce layoffs. Half the staff will be gone. That will appease the board and buy us time.
You'd fire people who have served this family for decades to cover your crimes? I won't be part of this.
The heir to the Kazama fortune felt the ground crumble beneath her. For the first time, she saw her father not as a titan, but as a desperate fraud. Across the street, in a cramped cafe, Yuto watched the scene through the wide windows, a predator observing its prey's last moments of denial.
They're tearing each other apart. The family is a sinking ship, and soon the board will panic. Perfect.
Miyabi stormed out, leaving her father alone with the portrait of the founder, a silent witness to the empire's internal decay. Yuto compiled the illegal clause, along with a demand: sell him 15% of the board's voting shares at a tenth of market value, or face public exposure. The package arrived at the Kazama private address via courier, untraceable.
This is extortion. Someone knows about the old loan. If this gets out, we all go to prison.
The emergency board meeting lasted hours. Desperation filled the room.
We have no choice. Accept the terms. Sell the shares quietly.
The board caved. I now hold 32% of Kazama Financial. One more step, and it's mine.
The transfer was executed overnight, hidden through the shell companies, but the massive shift in ownership triggered alerts across the financial district. Takeda's analysts picked up the sudden consolidation.
Takeda knows someone else is closing in. He'll accelerate. I need to stay hidden for just a little longer.
Yuto stood at the edge of control, but the smallest nudge could send him over into victory or defeat.
Someone grabbed a block of shares right under my nose. I want a name, now.
Takeda's forensic accountants tore through shell companies and offshore trusts, but the trail ended in a hall of mirrors, designed to confuse.
Father's hiding the real threat. The blackmail letter mentioned an old loan, someone with a personal vendetta. That scholarship student I humiliated. Yuto. His mother died in debt to our bank. Could it really be him?
A message flashed on Yuto's secure terminal. They're digging. Takeda's men and Kazama's daughter are both tracing the accounts.
Miyabi and Takeda, both hunting me. I have to lock down the controlling stake before they uncover my identity.
Takeda's team narrowed the search. A scholarship student, a deceased mother, a debt that should have been written off years ago.
I'll find him myself. If that debt slave is behind this, I'll rip his new life to shreds.
Miyabi began tailing Yuto, watching his every move from the shadows. Once the predator, now the prey turned hunter. Two hunters closed in from opposite sides. Yuto's disguise was wearing thin. The board vote was 3 days away.
I've secured 49% of the voting shares. The board vote tomorrow will be a simple formality.
But through a labyrinth of shell companies, Yuto finalized the last purchase seconds after Takeda's call. He now held 51%, undetected.
The vote is tomorrow. Let Takeda parade his confidence. I'll reveal the truth when it's too late for him to react.
The board won't listen to a daughter, but I'll hunt down the traitor myself, even if I have to rip him from the gutter.
She combed through records and stalked the financial district, finding only dead ends. Desperation pushed her into the rainy streets.
You again. Still wearing that pathetic uniform. Soon you'll be out on the street where you belong, just like the trash you are.
She has no idea that tomorrow I'll own the ground she's standing on. This is the last insult she'll ever throw.
The boardroom is ready. By this time tomorrow, the Kazama name will be a footnote in history.
That night, Yuto sat alone on a park bench, the weight of his scheme pressing on him, a genesis of revenge and calculation.
Tomorrow, the debt slave becomes the master, and nobody will see it coming. The custom-tailored suit wrapped around him like armor. No more tattered uniforms. Today, he was going to war.
He strode toward the Kazama building, each step deliberate, a predator advancing on its den. Inside, Miyabi and her father took seats at the boardroom table, arrogance masking their crumbling reality.
Once the vote solidifies our position, I'll personally wipe that insolent Yuto from the face of the earth.
49%. Good. The board will applaud my genius before this hour is over.
The elevator mirror showed a face I barely recognize. Cold, unflinching, ready to own them all.
He emerged into the long corridor, footsteps resonating like a countdown to judgment.
Behind these doors, the game ends. Once I step inside, there is no path but forward.
Within, Takeda rehearsed his predatory grin, Miyabi practiced her sneer, and her father stared at his trembling hands. Yuto's fingers curled around the brass handle. The next breath would alter the course of an empire.
The tally is complete. I now hold 49% of voting shares. Effectively control. The Kazama era is over.
But before the board could applaud, a corporate lawyer stepped forward and laid documents on the table. The papers revealed that a hidden buyer, through a network of shell companies, had amassed 51% of the company's stock, just hours before the vote.
51%. But father never sold. Who could have orchestrated this?
This is impossible. I demand to know who dares challenge my acquisition.
The lawyer answered calmly that the new chairman was already here, waiting outside the chamber. The heavy oak doors swung open with a groan, revealing only a silhouette against the corridor's harsh light.
Number, that build, that stance. It can't be the one I think.
The silence stretches. Every pair of eyes searches the shadow. Now, forward.
Miyabi's heart seized. The figure took a step into the room, still cloaked in darkness, but the air itself seemed to crystallize with recognition. The shadow fell away, and the boardroom froze. Yuto stood before them, tailored and unyielding.
It's him. That scholarship student I destroyed, the debt slave. He's the hidden buyer.
He walked past her without a glance, each footstep echoing as he rounded the long table.
This seat, it was promised to me the moment she first opened her mouth.
You? A nobody student? How could you possibly hold more shares than my entire conglomerate?
Your hunger for the Kazama name made you blind. I used the very tools you handed me.
The directors exchanged frantic glances, their empire slipping through their fingers like sand.
A debt slave like you doesn't belong here, she said. Now, I decide who belongs.
Miyabi's hands trembled on the mahogany. Her father stared into the void of his own ruin. The air thickened as the new chairman surveyed his domain. Not one of them dared breathe.
I entered the National Investment Challenge under an alias, predicting the crash no one saw coming. My portfolio returned 5,000%. Your bank held my mother's illegal loan, a predatory deal forged to destroy her. I used that clause as leverage to blackmail this board into selling me shares. Kazama Sr., you are hereby removed from all executive positions. Security will escort you out.
The founder's portrait watched in silence as its heir was dragged away, the dynasty crumbling in real time.
You vile, worthless insect. How dare you destroy my family after everything we gave you?
You gave me misery. You made me what I am. Your family's greed created this debt slave, and now that slave owns your legacy.
He won. Everything I mocked. Every laugh. It all led to this. I am nothing now.
The board, seeing no alternative, bowed to the new chairman. The Kazama Empire belonged to a debt slave.
Effective immediately, all predatory loan portfolios across this institution are under review. Justice will be served.
Miyabi sank into her chair, tears streaming silently. The girl who mocked him for being trapped by debt was now the one without a future.
This isn't over. I'll challenge the legitimacy of those shell companies. You'll drown in litigation.
Your own loans funded my buyout. Every document has been reviewed by 3 legal teams. You are finished. Takeda.
Takeda's composure shattered. He snatched his briefcase and stormed toward the exit, knowing the battle had been lost before it began. The board members filed out in silence, leaving only the new chairman and the heiress in the vast, echoing room.
Why? You could have just erased your debt. Why burn everything we had?
She was on the floor now, her elegant dress crumpled, her voice barely a rasp. Yuto rose from the chairman's seat and walked toward her, his footsteps slow and deliberate.
She still doesn't see it. This was never just about the money.
He's standing over me like a predator. After everything, he still hasn't spoken.
The silence stretched between them, heavy with years of contempt, and a reckoning neither had expected.
All predatory loan contracts, including the one used against my mother, are cancelled. Every debtor will be compensated.
Miyabi looked up, confusion cutting through her despair. Was he destroying her family or saving everyone they had wronged?
You can stay as a regular employee, or you can leave. This isn't revenge, it's correction.
Then, did you ever hate me? Or just what I stood for?
I hated what you represented. I hated the system that crushed people like insects. Now I've rewritten what that means.
The girl who had mocked him for being a debt slave now sat in the ruins of her legacy, offered a hand she'd never extended. Yuto turned away, toward the window overlooking the city. The empire was his, but the weight of his path rested on his shoulders.
He isn't the monster I imagined. He's something worse. The mirror I refuse to face.
The new Kazama group will be built on equity, not exploitation. Let the world see what a debt slave can build.
Miyabi remained on the floor, the weight of her choices settling into her bones as a new era began.
I'll stay. Not because I want to, but because I have nowhere else to go.
Yuto's response was a short, unreadable nod, the same cold efficiency he'd used to destroy her world. He turned away, his silhouette stark against the window's harsh light, and walked toward the great oak doors.
You'll never be one of us. You can own the building, but you'll always be a debt slave wearing a crown.
He stopped, hand hovering over the handle, as if weighing the last thread of their shared history.
I was never trying to be.
A beat later, he vanished into the corridor, the echo of his footsteps sealing the verdict.
He didn't need to belong. He forged his own kingdom from the broken pieces of ours.
The boardroom door closed with a quiet click, imprisoning her with the silent portraits of her ancestors.
This is my punishment, to become invisible in the empire he built, a ghost among the living.
In the months that followed, Yuto reshaped the Kazama group, hiring Ryo as his chief of staff.
Never imagined I'd see you behind this desk. You really did it, Yuto.
Ryo's grin was wide, but Yuto only offered a weary, grateful nod.
Victory is cold. It feels like duty, not triumph.
He picked up the worn photograph of his mother. The only warmth in the room, her smile reminded him why he began, not for power, but to prevent suffering like hers. A knock interrupted. Miyabi entered. A plain uniform replacing her designer clothes, carrying coffee. She set the cup down. Their eyes met, hers with embers of hate, his indifferent.
He looks at me like I am nothing. Maybe I am. The price of surviving.
As she left, Yuto turned toward the window. The city was his, but he felt only the weight of duty. Yuto walked the hospital corridor, where his mother had drawn her last breath, a ghost himself now.
No one should die buried in debt. I will ensure it never happens again.
He placed his palm against the cold glass of her old room, a silent communion.
I kept my promise, Mother. The correction has just begun.
From the shadows, Miyabi watched, drawn by a guilt she could not name.
He carries a burden. I never saw that vow. It wasn't about revenge.
His shoulders gave a single, silent tremor. The mask never cracked, but it trembled.
I was the villain in his story, and he still chose to spare me.
Her hand pressed flat against the cold wall. The embers of her hatred cooled into something fragile. In the window's glass, her reflection softened. Not a monster, just a girl learning to see. Yuto sat alone in his office, the city sprawling beneath him, a silent testament to his victory. In the glass, his reflection intertwined with the skyline, the debt slave who became the empire. Miyabi walked through the rain, her uniform soaked, her eyes holding a new, fragile respect. She stopped at a puddle, her shattered reflection shimmering in the ripples. Behind her, Yuto's silhouette crossed the reflection. Two parallel lives, forever changed. Her eyes, once filled with contempt, now mirrored only the weight of truth. The city washed clean by the storm, yet the scars remained. Inside, Yuto held his mother's photograph, the only anchor in his hollow triumph. Miyabi vanished into the faceless crowd, No longer an heiress, just a survivor. In the last glimmer, their reflections merged, a debt slave and a fallen heiress bound by consequence.